Next pitch, and Green sends a fly ball to right. Ochoa has to go back on the ball, still going back, and this ball is out of here. A home run for Shawn Green, and the Dodgers have a 3-run blast and put them ahead 6-1. Shawn Green has hit 6 home runs at Miller Park in the last 2 seasons.
Green's home run came in the second inning after he doubled in the first. Here he was against Brian Millette in the 4th inning on a 1-1 pitch. Green said he broke his bat, and yet he hit it out. And the Dodgers lengthened their lead with 26,000 fans looking on in Milwaukee. When Green came into Milwaukee for the series, he'd only had 3 home runs on the year. Millette was still on the mound in the 5th inning when Shawn batted again, and this time he crushed it the other way to left center field. His 3rd homer of the day. That gave him a chance for an 8th inning single for his 5th hit, and he came up in the 9th inning to face Jose Cabrera, an opportunity to hit a 4th home run.
The next one. There's a drive to right center field. He's done it. 4 home runs for Shawn Green to tie the Major League record. The Milwaukee fans are on their feet, giving him a standing ovation as he circles 3rd. What a day.
Hi, friends. What you just witnessed is considered by many people to be the most impressive offensive day in the history of Major League Baseball. On May 23rd, 2002, this Dodger set many records 20 years ago, and we're happy to celebrate it today with our friend Shawn Green. Shawn, how are you?
Great. How you doing, Ross?
Just doing wonderful. John, come on, Shawn. It hadn't been 20 years, has it?
I know. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it was great to be a part of that because I was able and privileged to call the 1st and 4th home runs that you hit that day in Milwaukee. Before we talk about that historic game, though, let's discuss what came up before that. In 2001, you had a terrific year with the Dodgers. You hit a franchise record 49 home runs, which is still the record today. 2002, though, did not start out well for you, did it?
No, I got off to a really rough start. And I think 2001 was part of the problem after having, a career year and hitting the 49 home runs. I was pretty focused on that, and home runs became kind of somewhat of an obsession. I felt like I needed to hit home runs because the batting average goes up and down, but the home runs, it's, if you're way behind, it's hard to catch up. So I think in my mind, I was, geez, last year I had this many home runs at this time, and now I only have, 1 or 2. And so you put that extra pressure on yourself to try to, get hot.
I like what you said, though, at that time. You talked about how the baseball looked coming to you at the plate when you were struggling. Do you recall, I'm sure you do, how the balls appeared at that time?
I mean, it's something tiny. I know that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the exact.
I'll tell you, you said ping pong balls.
Ping pong balls. There you go. And that's a common thing. When you hear it all the time, the ball slows down. It looks like a, watermelon or grapefruit or whatever it is, and vice versa. I think a lot of it too is, just mechanically when you're rushing your eye, everything's just moving faster and you just don't have that time to really watch and see the ball.
Well, you said that for 6 weeks, the ball seemed to be going fast and you were jumping at pitches.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was so anxious to get up there and do something special that I was, striding a little faster, a little harder, and trying to almost trying to hit a 5-run home run every time you're going up there. That's kind of I think the mindset. You become get a little crazy, and the longer that those cold streaks go, the harder it is to recalibrate and slow things down.
You worked on your swing in early May that year, and you took numerous batting practices. Did you get blisters?
Yeah, no, I definitely did. I had some different techniques. I always tried to do different things, pull different levers to try to get right. And one of the things I did actually, the Saturday before that, I think it was a Wednesday game, is Jim Tracy gave me a day off. And sometimes when I was really in dire straits, I wanted to hit to exhaustion is what I called it. So Manny Mota threw to me in the cage for probably, I'm going to say, at least 30 minutes straight, which is, as a hitter, after 5 minutes straight, you're pretty tired. So I just kept hitting and hitting and hitting. And what the goal was to hit past the point where your mind is so tired, it just sort of stops and lets your body take over. And that was the goal, just to get back to just letting my body feel the movements that had made me successful in the past. And fortunately, that stretch it worked.
You said at the time, I can't try to rush it and focus on the external expectations. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, like as I was saying, it's, I was thinking about the year before, and everyone had these high expectations. I hit 49 home runs a couple years earlier in Toronto. I had 42 home runs. And I signed a big contract. So there's all these different expectations. And if you let those kind of seep into each at bat, then it gets you in a lot of trouble. And in baseball, you have to be, so focused on the task at hand and be so present that, if you're all of a sudden in your mind thinking about what you should have done, what you should be doing, what you did last year, like all those thoughts get you into trouble, and they actually mess up the timing of your swing.
In your words, I had to let my body do the work.
Yeah, there's a saying from a book that I liked called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. It says you got to lose your mind and come to your senses. So that was kind of always my approach hitting, is I wanted to get out of my head. In fact, one thing I used to do, another tool that I used to do throughout my career, is if I, let's say, was thinking too much at the plate or swung at a bad pitch because I was overthinking, I would step out and I'd hit my cleats really hard with my bat because I wanted to feel my feet and get my attention out of my, swirling mind and into my body. So I would do different things to try to get into my body. And I think it's the same thing when you hear stories about Michael Jordan being, deathly sick and then scoring 50 points. It's when you're sick or hurt. And Adrian Beltre, a couple of years after, 3 years after I hit my 49, he had 48 home runs and he had a bone spur in his ankle. So like it gets you in your body and it gets you out of that challenging road in baseball of trying to do too much and please everyone's satisfy everyone's expectations.
A few days before your record breaking, you went 5 consecutive games without hitting the ball out of the infield. Were you extremely depressed?
I was in a pretty low place. I mean, that's part of the game. I think I was 0 for 18. We played the Expos, and actually the Mets and then the Expos in LA, and I was getting booed at home for the first time. And I finally, I got that Saturday off. And then on Sunday, I played and I struck out twice. And then finally, my last at bat, I faced a good friend of mine who was with the Dodgers the year before, Matt Hergis.
Oh, yeah.
And I hit a double off the wall. And that kind of got me going because that was okay. That broke not only did that break the 0 for streak, it also was the first ball I hit out of the infield.
Yeah.
So I hit that, and then, I was excited to go on the road and just kind of have a new atmosphere to go and try to work things out.
Well, let's move ahead to the best week of your career. May 18th, 2002, you're given the day off. May 19th, 1 hit, a double, in 4 at-bats. Your batting average was .231. May 20th, the Dodgers are off. May 21st, a 3-game series begins in Milwaukee. You are deep in a slump. You'd had 1 hit in your last 19 at-bats. But in the first game, You clubbed 2 home runs, went 2 for 4, raised your batting average 7 points to 238. The Brewers won the game 8-6. May 22nd, you drove in the only run with a triple in a 1-0 Dodger win. You remained at 238 with a 1 for 4 evening. A short night for you. The dawn comes, and little do you know what Thursday afternoon is going to mean the rest of your life or what's about to happen. You said the baseballs thrown to you at that time no longer look like ping pong balls. What did you say they look like?
Probably watermelons, right? I don't know.
Softballs.
Softballs. Okay, that's not quite as good, but take that still.
A recap of your plate appearances that day. First inning, double, 1 RBI. Second inning, home run, 3 RBI. Fourth inning, home run, 1 RBI. Fifth inning, home run, 1 RBI. Eighth inning, single, no RBI. Ninth inning, home run, 1 RBI. John, you said that you sat back and waited for the pitches that day.
Yeah, it was weird. Once I got that first hit, we're facing a lefty, and as a left-handed hitter, when you face a left-handed starter, it's always good to get that first hit because it's always a little more challenging facing those lefties. And Glennon Rush was pitching, and the first at bat, I had to kind of scratch and claw, and it was a 3-2 pitch down and away, and I just snuck a ground ball down the first baseline for a double, and that kind of got me going. That got me relaxed because I had that 2 home run the first game of the series and the triple the next day. So I was starting to break. I knew I was breaking out of it, but you want to keep that momentum going. And so once I had that, then I started relaxing a little bit. And I think success kind of dictates, especially in the era that I played, there wasn't as much data. So this, I knew kind of how he was going to pitch me after hitting a couple home runs the first day, a triple and a double. I kind of had a feeling, okay, he's going to try to come in with a fastball. And sure enough, he did, and I was ready for it. And that's where the first home run was hit and kind of got me going.
Friends, here are the records that Sean set or tied in that game. 19 total bases, 4 homers, 1 double, and 1 single. If you don't know about total bases, folks, home runs worth 4 bases, a triple 3, double 2, and a single 1. And you broke Joe Adcock's record of 18 total bases. You're the only player to hit 4 home runs while collecting 6 total hits. The only man to both score and drive in at least 6 runs in the same game. I don't know if you ever did this, but I was curious, and let me pose the question to you. Did you ever look up how many points jumped on your batting average after that one game?
No, I didn't check that, but I know it was a lot. I know the week was a big difference from one week to the next.
I'll give you the answer. Your batting average jumped 27 points to 265. You gained 34 points in the 3 days in Milwaukee. Before his hot streak had ended, though, Sean had achieved other major league records: 5 homers in 2 straight games, 7 homers in 3 games, a National League mark of 9 home runs in a calendar week. In Sean's big game, the Dodgers ripped 8 home runs and coasted 16-3. And I really like this, and I wanted to bring it up today. Just a fact for all you fans. Here's the question. How many major league players have there been in history? Up to date. As of yesterday, 22,673. How many have hit 4 home runs in a 9-inning game? 15. 3 more got a 4th home run in extra innings. That means that Shawn Green is in very special company.
I got a trivia question for you, Ross.
All
See
right.
if you get this. Do you know what player went back to back in two separate 4 home run games with the guy who hit 4 home runs?
Back to back.
Yeah, at least in one of the home runs of the 4 home runs hit by a guy, he went back to back in two 4 homer games in his career. Does that make sense?
You tell me. I don't want to take up the time.
Adrian Beltre. So he went back to back in he got me in my last at bat, and then in Josh Hamilton in Texas, Adrian went back to back with Josh Hamilton in his 4 homer game.
That's wonderful. Adrian's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day, I think.
Yes, for sure.
Well, in the 3 games in Milwaukee, Sean had 9 hits, 6 home runs, a triple, a double, and a single. And he knocked in 10 runs. And you stayed in that groove of yours at the plate. You went on a 9-game hitting streak. From May 21 to 27, you batted .531. And you hiked your batting average to .283. Sean, how much hitting major league pitching is a guessing game? I mean, you got to guess what kind of pitch you're going to see. Is it going to be a two-seamer, a four-seamer, a curveball, a slider, a changeup? And then you also probably have to be thinking, what zone shall I expect this ball to come?
For sure. Yeah, no, that's different hitters have different approaches with that. If you talk to a former teammate of mine, Gary Sheffield, he says he was up there and just looking for the fastball and reacting. I was the opposite. I would sit on pitches. It wasn't as much. I like to compare it more to someone who's maybe a good poker player or blackjack player where, they're going to play the same way consistently as opposed to saying, oh, I feel like I'm just going to hit this time or, drop or whatever they're going to do. There's a strategy behind it. So I knew pitchers who like to throw, for example, changeups in hitters counts, and I call those 1-0, 2-1 to get back in the count. They'd throw a changeup. So I would sit on it throughout the whole game every time I got into those specific counts. And I had notes on every pitcher. So that was kind of the way I approached it. But I kind of referenced it a second ago. It gets easier. The more success you're having, it gets easier because it sort of dictates what pitchers are going to do. So if you get hot and hit some home runs, then a lot of pitchers are going to stay away from you because they're scared to throw the ball inside because this guy's hot. He's hitting the ball in the park, so I'm going to throw him fastballs down and away. And that was a pitch I liked. So it almost led to more success. I think that's one of the reasons I would get really streaky. And when I get hot, it would last for, a week or two. And I was able to take advantage of them pitching into the areas that I wanted.
Did you find pitchers change their patterns on you and be a little surprising?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was pretty straightforward. Where if a pitcher matched up well with me, I hit him really well. So some of the best pitchers I just happen to hit well because, like Greg Maddux and John Smoltz and Curt Schilling, like their style of pitching worked well with me because they threw a lot of fastballs away and changeups. But other pitchers, like we'd go to Arizona and Curt Schilling and Randy Johnson, I hit well. But then Miguel Batista, who threw a hard cutter, that was the pitch that gave me a lot of trouble. And so it was almost more what arsenal that pitcher had and how it matched up with me that made the difference in whether I was going to be successful or not.
You broke your bat on one of the 4 home runs. How do you have the power and the distance if that happens?
Yeah, I guess sometimes you just get enough of it to get the good backspin and all that. But usually it's not like the bat head's flying off, like a big crack. It's usually like a little crack. But yeah, I mean, that happened to me a few times, but it doesn't happen all that much. But you sometimes can just get enough of it.
When Kirk Gibson hit his dramatic home run, it looked as if he swung one-handed. And it's always been a question of mine, how in the world can you hit the ball out?
Yeah, I one-handed. No, that's a good question. And it's something where I try to work on that in my swing a lot, where I feel like if your upper body stays, through the ball, then a lot of things could look kind of funky. Like your back foot can slide a lot. Your one hand could come off and it looks like you hit a one hand swing. But the whole key is, it's almost like a punch. If you're punching like this, then you're not gonna have as much power. But if you're punching like this, then your body's over it. It's kind of the same thing with hitting. If my swing is there, my hand releases, but my body's through it, then I get that power to stay through the ball and get it over the fence.
Sean, tell everybody who your center fielder and leadoff batter was on that 2002 Dodger team.
Dave Roberts, right? Yeah, I think Grissom was on the. Grissom might have been. Was he still with us, or he might have been in Milwaukee then? But definitely Dave Roberts, because I went to lunch with him the day before to my lucky spot in Milwaukee. So, yeah,
he's done a wonderful job managing the Dodgers with the winning percentage. He's about number one all time among Dodger managers now in percentage.
I can't imagine too many managers anywhere that have a better winning percentage. As successful as he's been there. Now he's, it's kind of funny. I thought he would be, a TV guy in baseball, like, doing either, pre and post game shows or doing actual, like, game of the week type stuff, because of his personality. And he's so personable. But the fact that he went in coaching and then ultimately became a manager makes perfect sense, because he's so great at handling all the challenging dynamics that you have to handle as a manager. And Tommy had that same thing, where he was able to, handle the media well and handle the players and make young guys feel like they belong and that they're going to succeed. And, there's a reason why Tommy had however many rookie of the years he had. I don't know, about a dozen probably, right? And I think Dave's got a similar kind of magic touch, where the young guys come up, guys like Will Smith. And I mean, these guys come from other organizations like Chris Taylor, and they find success because, the organization has the resources, and the data and all those things. But I think most importantly, Dave makes them feel like they're going to be successful.
How productive was Shawn Green in the major leagues? He had 3 seasons when he had 40 or more home runs. 4 years in which he drove in at least 100 runs. We told you the 49 homers he hit, still the Dodger franchise record, Brooklyn and Los Angeles. One year he was on base for the Dodgers 53 consecutive games. At the time of his retirement in 2007, after that season, Green was one of only 4 active players with at least 300 home runs, 1,000 runs, 1,000 RBI, 400 doubles, a .280 batting average, and 150 stolen bases. The others, Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey Jr., and Gary Sheffield, each of whom was at least 2 years older than Shawn, and with at least 1,400 more at-bats. A marvelous career, Shawn.
Oh, I appreciate that, Ross. You too.
Well, let's hear now about Shawn's earlier years. He went to Tustin High School in Southern California in Orange County. On the baseball team, he had 147 hits during his varsity career there, which tied a California Interscholastic Federation record. What position?
I played a little bit, bounced around a little bit. I even pitched a little bit, but mostly first base and the 3 outfield positions.
Yeah. Then you were such a great student. You ranked 3rd academically in your class. You had an over a 4-point grade average, and you got a baseball scholarship to Stanford. But you never played college baseball, did you?
No. I signed the last day with the Blue Jays. Got drafted in the first round, and I ended up breaking my thumb that summer playing in the summer league after high school, and so I couldn't have played in the minor leagues that year anyway. And they kind of just waited, didn't really talk to my advisor and me about signing and all that. And then the very end, I was at Stanford, went to the first practice, and then they offered me a significant amount of money, and I decided to sign. So it was a tough decision because I had always planned on playing college. It kind of seemed like the next step after high school, but Blue Jays were a great organization.
I remember they said that I think it was Mel Queen, who was in the Toronto organization, had a pretty good position, and he said to his coaches and his instructors one day, "If I see any of you trying to change Sean's swing, you are automatically fired."
Mel was my favorite. He was amazing. And he played for the Dodgers, I think, briefly, didn't he?
Yeah.
I know he came up with the Reds. I mean, he was actually he passed away about maybe 7 to 10 years ago, but up from Morro Bay. He lived up in Central California. But he came up with the Reds, and he was an outfielder in the big leagues, but they had Vada Pinson, Pete Rose, and I think Frank Robinson. And so he never played. So he just started pitching, and he became a pitcher without even going back to the minor league. So he really knew the whole game, and I was fortunate to have him kind of teaching all of us how to play the game. I mean, he had incredible players that went on to other places and have great careers, like Jeff Kent, Carlos Delgado, Roy Halladay, Chris Carpenter. I mean, all these guys had amazing careers that would say Mel Queen was, a huge point in their careers.
Oh, that's very good. I want to back up a little. The Blue Jays made you their first choice in the 1991 draft, and you received what then was a very high signing bonus of $725,000. You donated part of the money to the Metropolitan Toronto Housing Authority Breakfast Club, which provides breakfasts for youngsters who would otherwise go to school hungry. I tell you this, folks, Shawn Green has always been known as one of the most generous players in baseball. In 2001, he donated $75,000 to the charity for survivors of the New York 9/11 terrorist attacks. Then you also had a chance when you got to Los Angeles to also make your presence felt, and you did a wonderful job for the Dodger Dream Foundation. You came to the Dodgers from the Blue Jays in 1999 in a trade for Raul Mondesi, of all people. And when you got to the Dodgers, you donated $1.5 million to the Dodger Dream Foundation in 6 years. You also have assisted the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, Special Olympics, Parkinson's Foundation, and the United Jewish Foundation. And dear to my family, Shawn plays golf in our charity golf tournament every year in November. Proceeds go to our son's nonprofit charity, Still Point Family Resources, which is devoted to assisting special needs adults and children. And we have a photo of last year's tournament. And in that tournament, when you look at the picture, as we're about to do, you're going to see Shawn in the middle of that picture. Jim Herrick, Andy Myers Drysdale, Nomar Garcia Parra, Fernando Valenzuela, John Hartung, and Darren Sutton are seen in this photo, and they're holding me up. But that was the photo taken by the extremely talented Rich Key. Shawn, you've got a great heart for helping people. Congratulations.
I appreciate it, and you do as well.
Only thing you always say to me, don't schedule your golf tournament on November 10th, because that's my birthday. And we'll never do that because we always take the first Monday. So there's no chance.
There you go.
No chance we get to November 10th. So you're okay.
Well, back when I said that, my daughters were little and they cared about it. Now they don't. They'll say, happy birthday, Dad. And that's it. I could do whatever I want now.
Well, thanks for what you do for us. We really appreciate it, and we're thrilled. We've had almost 100 personalities or celebrities participate in our tournament in 15 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. You guys do great work. Yeah, no, it's a great cause, and you and your whole family are involved. It's just it's a special event. I'll always participate in it as long as you keep the tournament going.
Are you playing any golf?
I've been playing golf. Yeah, I got into the last few years. I think right before COVID, actually. And then COVID was a good time to dive in even deeper into the game. But I love it.
Have you had a hole in one yet?
I had one. Yeah,
Did you?
one hole in one. Yeah, a couple years ago.
300-yard hole?
I wish. I wish. No, it was about 120 yards. Nothing too amazing, but it was still fun.
Sean, was it your grandfather or father who shortened the family name from Greenberg to Green for business reasons?
Yeah, it was my dad's dad who passed away when my dad was only 2 years old. So, my dad didn't even know him, but there were three brothers. One kept Greenberg, one became Green, and one became Green with an E at the end. So all three of them went a different route. Maybe they didn't like each other. I don't know. But yeah, three different names.
Now that's ironic. Of Jewish major league hitters, only Hank Greenberg had hit more home runs and had more RBI in a career than you. Did you ever meet Hank?
No, I know his son, Steve.
Yeah.
Who's a great guy. But I think Hank, he passed away in the 80s, I believe, right?
Yeah. I got a chance to play with Hank in a very fun doubles match one
wow.
day. Yeah. And I'm sure that his team beat my team because I wasn't that good, I guess. Your father, Ira Green, went to DePaul University. In fact, on the basketball team for 2 years in the 1960s. Later, after your family moved from the East to Southern California, your dad became a well-respected hitting instructor. Why did he get into baseball?
Well, he always loved baseball. He pitched in like semi-pro. He was a lefty and threw the ball really hard. Didn't know where it was going, which was a guy who throws hard and doesn't know where it's going, because I got hit a few times from my dad on accident. And but I grew up playing basketball, baseball, and a little soccer. I kind of burnt out a little bit on that because we played so many games when I was really young. But quit basketball after my freshman year. But I was really into baseball, and actually we lived in San Jose until I was about 12, and we had this empty side yard to our house, and one of the kids on our team had a pitching machine. And they had a pool in their backyard, so they didn't have any place to put it. So my dad just put a net up, and they put the pitching machine in our yard. We'd have practices sometimes at our house. And then they left it there for a year or two, and then they took the machine back, and we had this net. So we got a machine, and I had a batting tee, and I would just hit all the time. And my dad knew how much I loved it. So he learned more and more about it. He read the Ted Williams book and Charlie Lau books. I played with another guy in that same league who had a pitching machine in his yard that I think the dads maybe kind of compete a little bit. He actually made it to the big leagues as well for a brief stretch. Jason Hartke, really good guy. And so I think that kind of launched me into just becoming, I think, a little bit more passionate and excited about studying hitting, just because I got into it early. It made me a better hitter. I had more success, and then that kind of breeds that self-confidence and passion that wants you to do it even more.
When he began training you in hitting, what did he stress?
The biggest physical thing in the swing was always keep your head down. And he would watch what the current stars were doing. Guys like Don Mattingly and Wade Boggs, they're really good at keeping their head down. So that was always a thing, is, keep your head down. And I was much more focused on making contact. I didn't, striking out I just I was more of a leadoff hitter. I hit the ball on the ground a lot, didn't strike out at all. And I think it's one of the reasons it took me a longer time to develop into more of a power guy, is because my swing was so tuned for hitting the ball on the ground or line drives to over the shortstop's head. Like, that was my whole approach.
That's interesting you bring that up. It just came to my mind. Is instructing a left-handed batter different than directing a right-handed batter?
It is, for sure. And I think a lot of people don't think of it that way, but that's a good observation. I think, and I approached it. I actually switch hit until I was 14.
Wow.
And then when I started batting only left-handed, it was hard. It's harder to become a switch hitter if you're a lefty, because your natural side you use so much, and then there's so few left-handed pitchers that you don't get enough at bats practicing your weaker side, right? So when I came back to just only hitting left-handed, I felt so much more confident that I think that helped me against left-handed pitchers throughout my career. But I treated it as two completely different. I treated myself as a switch hitter, even though I was a left-handed hitter. So I had, for a while in Toronto, I used a totally different bat, a black bat with a little different weight to it, because I wanted it to feel like a different approach. I had more of a closed stance. I spread my stance. I didn't stride as much. I looked for the ball away, so I didn't swing it to keep me off of breaking balls in the dirt, like things like that. I had a very different thought process against lefties than righties.
Over the years, your dad worked with quite a few major league players. I think of the Angels like Jim Edmonds and probably Darren Erstad and Garrett Anderson. At the baseball academy he had, I think at that time, he had different academies in different cities at those times, but all Orange County. And then he began instructing a 12-year-old named Freddie Freeman. Only two men have ever given hitting instructions to Freddie Freeman. His dad, Fred, and your dad, Ira. I'll bet you spent a lot of time talking to Freddie over the years. And of course, now, what a terrific player he is with the Dodgers.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I'm excited to see him in LA. I'm a fan of the game, so I always think it's nice for a player to play his entire career with one organization. So from that perspective, I think I was kind of sad to see him leave Atlanta, because he has had such an amazing run. But if he's going to go anywhere, I know this is where he wanted to go, and this is, the fans couldn't be happier to have him. He's such a good fit on this team. But yeah, no, he was around, a lot. He was a great kid. He was quiet, and just kind of, he'd have big leaguers there that he would watch in the cages, and we talked to him a little bit. But it was, it's the type of thing where the same way I would have been, had I been fortunate enough to get to work out in the same place where there were professionals, just kind of in awe. And there was quite, as you mentioned, some of the names, there's quite a few guys that would hit there in the off season. And my dad always loved Freddie. He'd always tell me, "Oh, you got to watch this guy. He's going to be good." And he'd say that about other guys, but I think Freddie was the one that he was. If he was going to bet the farm on something, I think Freddie would be the guy he was going to bet on.
Sean, while you were playing, you began throwing your batting gloves to children each time you had a home run in your home park. How'd that start?
Yeah, so it was early in my days with the Dodgers, where I would say it was maybe April, and I was on deck and I had a tear in my batting glove, and I didn't have time to go get a new pair. So I went up, I hit a home run, and then when I never liked to throw old equipment out, because I knew as a kid I'd go to games and I always cherished getting a ball or anything I could possibly get. I think I got a couple cracked bats over the years, and so I remembered that. And so I said, I'm just going to throw it to someone in the stands. And so I did it. And then your colleague, Vin Scully, said, that must be something that Sean does when he hits home runs. And then I didn't, I'm not hearing the game on TV, but Mitch Poole, who's been a long, long time Dodger clubhouse fixture. He came in and told me that, and he said, that's a good idea. And I said, yeah, it's a good idea. So from then on, I started doing it. The first couple of times I forgot because it wasn't a habit yet. And Mitch would come out and he'd have a new pair of batting gloves and kind of motion like, oh, throw them up there. And so once I got into that little rhythm, then it was easy to remember because the kids would come running down and clamor for a spot to get those gloves.
In 2014, you founded a software company developing technology for sports and entertainment organizations and used by both the Dodgers and Major League Baseball. Are you still involved?
I am, yeah. It's been going well. It's called Greenfly, and it's a platform that has an app and it has a really robust back end, and all the photos and short form videos run through our platform for a league, and all the teams and the players automatically get routed onto their app or wherever they're logging in to all their personalized feed of content. So, you know, when Freddie Freeman gets off the field, he'll have all his photos from that day and beyond. He could search them. He could type in home run and all of his home runs will come up. And then whatever he shares onto his social or downloads, our system tracks it. So the Dodgers, the league, will all know, you know, that content went to good use. And this is how it did. It got a lot of likes and posts and things like that. So that's really what we do. And we work with most of the major leagues around the world now in one capacity or another.
Yeah. Sean, you married Lindsay in 2002. Was that before or after your record streak?
Actually, it was 01. I married her in November of 01.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, and then Presley, my daughter, was born in December of 02. So yeah, that was it was right before there, but then she was just newly pregnant with Presley when I had that big game in Milwaukee.
Yeah. Well, you got two lovely daughters. I remember when they were 3 and 4 years old, and
yeah.
One's in college and another one about to go to college, right?
Yeah, one's halfway through high school, and the other's she's finishing up her freshman year of college.
Oh, wonderful. What else are you doing these days? I've seen you doing a little analytical work on the Dodger telecast. Yeah,
I'll do a little bit of that. I'll do some stuff for the Dodgers. They'll let me come out for different things. Every once in a while, I'll go out to Toronto as well. It's a little easier to go to Dodger Stadium than fly up to Toronto. But yeah, and so for baseball, it's more that if they need me at the studio, I'll fill in type thing. And if they need me to go and meet with some people in one of the boxes or pregame or postgame or something like that, I'll do that. But for the most part, I'm focused on my family and business and playing golf. But I still keep tabs of what's going on with the boys in blue, and it's not hard to follow because they're really fun to watch.
Are the Dodgers going to go far this year?
Yeah, so early. I of course you always as a player, you just want to know that you have a really good shot, that you have all the pieces you need to win. And once you get to the postseason or even late September, it could become a crapshoot. But you got the injuries. Hopefully Clayton could be healthy down the stretch, and things like that are crucial. And then who knows what happens at the trade deadline, and they have really tough division. But I think everyone in baseball, that's the team that they hope they don't have to play against, and that's a good spot to be in. When you show up to the park every day knowing that you're the team that everybody's scared of.
Sean, thank you for being with us today and celebrating the 20th anniversary of what has been called by many the most impressive offensive day in the history of Major League Baseball. Wow. Stay well, my friend.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for sharing that day with me. You were a big part of it too. So thank you.